How are we doing, guys? Welcome to another VEGA Conflict video. This is Thor, aka Tap Out Gaming. So the events just dropped. We finally got in there. I've already farmed the ship itself, and as you probably can imagine, if you know the RPS system, the vals are the ones that you want to be using. People have been using the Leviathan, but I've seen them taking damage. Now the Leviathans with the blight on it are pretty OP. Now I wanted to show you a quick demonstration on how to get these fleets as well. A lot of people have been saying, Bubba mentioned that he'd struggled to get the fleets that he wants. Now, a little top tip that I've learned in the past to get the fleets that you want first is to sit on the portal like this, have your target ready to ping and find, and as soon as it pops out, you click that. So I was watching, nothing popped out there, so I'm underneath this ship here that's being attacked. So I'm ready to go, and as soon as I attack it, my fleet doesn't even move. Rather than chasing them all around the map and someone getting there before you get there, which is what I was doing to start with, because everybody was hitting these fleets. Rather than doing that, just sit on the portal where you know they come out, and then just get ready. So like this, there should probably pop one out here now. He's going to try and do the same. No, there isn't. So that guy's just gone and sat underneath me now. He's going to do exactly the same. So when you see this red ring pulsating, the faster it gets, the sooner they're going to drop. So you'll see it start pulsating quite fast. Then the ships will pop out, and they'll pop out in like two little waves. You'll see 2 or 3 pop up, and then you'll see another 2 or 3 pop up. So like 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 will also pop up. So you want to be ready to fire on these as soon as you can. So you're looking. I know it's an Altarian one I'm looking for. Again, none popped up there. So I'm just going to sit and wait. It'll be doing exactly the same underneath, and it's just easier rather than trying to click, because this system needs to be changed. They need a drop down menu where you can choose which fleets are visible. So for example, if you're hunting just Pharmacon fleets of a certain type, like for example you wanted this Pharmacon War Master 1 or 2, you should be able to turn everything else off. Let's go for another wave. There'll be one on this one now. Altarian and attack. So my ship doesn't even move. Ping, ping, in. So now he's gutted his guards to do one. Anyway, on to the fight. So I didn't even play around with the formation. They were already in a box formation. Naturally, got Victoria. She's the best one for these with the build that I've got on them. I've not switched them up to the cannons yet, the Horde cannons. If you do switch them to Horde cannons, it might be better going with Tatiana. But these guys, with the 8 blight damage that Victorionin gives them, everything just melts. Not really much to say. You might take a little bit of damage if one of these the Orions get within the range within their range of your ships. Obviously, because then they're in your blind spot here. But yeah, everything's pretty easily popped, and it's very quick way to acquire the Artemis. Got one in the oven already. Building it naked, as I've always advised, build it naked, put the instant application tokens on there, and then swap it out for something you already want. The good thing about this being the Artemis being our ship that we're wanting to upgrade, is that the Xeno Eclipse drivers are going to be quite beneficial, because they're decent power to start off with for a naked ship. The problem is they're quite weighty. But let's have a look at the ship itself. So, if we go down to the blueprints, click on the Artemis. So, typical of the ranges that we've already seen previously. Same repair time, same effective range. Health is there about the same, if not exactly, I think. Yeah, 10,450. So everything, to keep it quite well based, everything in this page is the same. It's the modifiers and the overdrives of which we're going to see a big difference. Now, if I remember reading correctly, the Titan of the Pharmacons is also going to have some drone-based functions, which means that if you was to pair these with some Titans, that could be a pretty OP fleet if they're going to be firing out drones left, right, and centre. Because now that we've got this ranger, I think this is where we're going to start seeing the mixture of fleets, as we've discussed in clan chat numerous times, you're going to start seeing a mixture now, because you've got something to counter each one. You know, the vals kill the Artemis kills the Vector kills the vals. You're going to see like mixes up between like 2 or 3 of these and 2 of these, whatever. 3 and 3, 2, 2, 2. You're going to start seeing mixes. The only thing that I don't like mixing in is the Pharmacon, because when they get into the phase and they get that speed boost, they just break away from the rest of the fleet, which leaves them quite vulnerable. And because you've only, say for example, you only put 2 in a fleet, the phase will be quite low, so they won't have much defense anyway. So I think what we'll see is we'll probably see a lot of Artemis paired with Val Ravens, as far as mixing fleets go, and I think people will still remain with keeping Pharmacon with Pharmacon. Maybe just with Pharmacons like 4 vectors maybe and 2 operators. Because these operators are people disregard the operators. They are great if you can time them right. These are little ninjas when they get in there and the phase runs out. As soon as that phase runs out, they do some decent damage. Anyway, onto the Artemis. So the Hunt Overdrive. Now, I've read this a couple of times, and I guess I need to sort of test it before we find out, unless it's specified anywhere else. But it reads, when 5,000 damage is done. Now that doesn't clarify whether that means 5,000 damage is done to the Artemis or by the Artemis. I would imagine that would be to the Artemis, because why should it gain a bonus for doing well itself? Surely the overdrives are retaliation bonuses, if you get me. So the Artemis deploys a squadron of drones for 20 seconds. Now I'm thinking you're going to get maybe 4, because if you look at this picture, there's 4 drones there, and the Hunt and Vengeance are linked. So you get some drones for 20 seconds in order to deal extra damage and distract the enemies in combat. This is why I think it would be damage received rather than damage dealt, because you would the fact that it says to deal extra damage to boost you, basically like a handicap, and to distract the enemies so you don't take any more. So they go out to deal extra damage and distract the enemies. Naturally, being Altarian, they're going to do alien DPS. So perfect against the Pharmacons, as we all know. Flight time is 18 seconds, which 20 seconds, 18 seconds. I mean, should that not be the same? Anyway, the range they've got is 8,500, so just a little bit more, just a little bit further beyond than your weapons. And the speed, 1,800 meters per second, miles per second, whatever it is, the ratio they've got. They're pretty quick. So it's going to take 3 or 4 seconds to get to, well, just over 4.5, 5 seconds for them to get to the extended range. But bear in mind, even though that's further than your weapon range, with the way that the new weapons work for these, if you choose to use them, your weapon range is 8,000 meters. But when they reach 8,000 meters, they also split off into 3 projectiles, which probably goes about another 1,000 meters. So the projectile range is probably about 9,000. Well, the spill off is anyway. They have health of 2,600. Drones don't particularly last that long. The only one that ever has been the Zealot for the Orator. And they give extra phase hacking. Now, hacking modifies the ability of enemy Pharmacon holes to utilise phasing. The effect will last until 10 seconds have elapsed, or the enemy fleet enters phase state. So phase charge hacking, so it's going to minus them by 20%. Now, I imagine that's per ship. So if that was the case, and you had 6 of them on the go, that all received damage and all deployed the drones, would that mean that they had minus 120%, so they would never be able to phase? Or is that just like a maximum bonus you can get per fleet? So even if you had 5 ships deployed with drones, that even if all 6 of them are out, you would only have a 20%. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. Duration for 10 seconds. If it was a stackable bonus, so it was 120%, surely that would mean that they just wouldn't be able to get any phase at all, which would make them uber squishy, which means that this would be awesome for destroying the Pharmacon fleets. And as Mecha X has stated in his video, when he's gone over these, it would be very auto-friendly. What else have we got? So we've got Vengeance. I always struggle understanding these, hence why I read over them and try and figure them out as best I can. When one hunt drone is destroyed or returns to the Artemis gains additional bonuses, substantially increasing its combat capabilities for 10 seconds. That, for me, I think will be OP, because as soon as you send your drones out, one of them's going to get shot very quickly by the fleet, which means it's going to die instantly, pretty much. If not, you're potentially going to get a boost every 20 seconds, 5 10 seconds, because every time you go out, you send them out, you're going to get a boost. Then when they come back, you're going to get a boost. Is it per drone? So if you was to lose one and have 3 remaining, it lasts for 10 seconds. Your drones are still out there after that 10 seconds for another 10 seconds, since they last for 20 seconds. If you was to lose another one, would you get the second boost? Or is it only one boost per set of drones? Because again, if it was one drone and then you lost another one at, say, for example, 13 seconds when this had expired, you would get this boost again. The boost you get, fire disruption, pretty OP if they can't fire back. Charge disruption, again, pretty OP if they can't charge, especially if they've got 120% plus 50%, that's 170% means they can't charge at all. Cooldown disruption, again, if they're limited, very OP. But this is only going to be good, well, some of these are only going to be good, for example, like this, against Pharmacon, which obviously is predominantly based and aimed at. Strafe plus 15%, it's going to be awesome against your horde cannons that are firing at you, because you're going to be able to avoid them mostly, because they've got quite a decent spread at the end of them. Turning, this is something I wanted to hint on, because I've not seen anyone comment on this yet, and I don't know why. So you get a boost of 15%, you get strafe of 15%, and you get turning of 15%. The reason I think it's going to be good is because when you come to be fighting up against Pharmacon vectors and you take a little bit of damage, they tend, with the way that PvP is going, they tend to come at you, fire all the damage, and then bug out before their phase exits, which as soon as they bug out, they then slow down. Now if you consider you doing the same thing in the opposite direction, increasing that gap, that becomes a good tactic when it comes down to here. So your ship recharge rate is plus 2%, charge delay is none, but the big kicker, I think, is this: shields can charge when depleted. So even if you end up with no shield at all, you can bug out and charge up again and then come back. Perfect. And it's been, it was definitely needed, because Valravens, they've got the ablative, so they can always recharge that. Vectors, they never lose the phase unless obviously they lose part of the fleet, so it dissipates as the fleet gets smaller. So why shouldn't these guys get a constant ability to be able to recharge the shields? Makes sense to me and makes it fair. Weapon speed, plus 35%. Don't know if that means weapon firing speed or weapon projectiles fit speed. This is the problem with the description. I wish that it would be more specific to what it means. Tell us what you actually mean. But anyway. Screen damage plus 15%. Resistance as usual, 55 nebulas. Counter chain, counter pierce, counter ricochet, which means that it's going to be pretty good against, like I said, the Pharmacons again, because they've got pierce. They've got them big blue smashy things. And phase charge hacking. Phase charge hacking minus 5%. So potentially, if all this phase charge hacking adds up, if it is the way that I mentioned, it could be 175%, minus 175% at one point of the fight, which means that they're just never going to be able to recharge. So I've got a feeling that this ship might get a little bit of a nerfing at some point. If I have understood it wrong, then someone by all means correct me and teach me more. I am learning again about all the mechanics and stuff. And when you get new things like this dropping out, you have to take it at word value and what it says. So, for example, as I've mentioned, when 5,000 damage is done, to or by. Be more specific. Tell us exactly what we want to know so we can figure it out and we can consider what ships will beat other ships and what ships will be good against other ships. Now, fitting. When it comes to fitting, we always look to our peers and see what they're doing and who's doing what and what's working best. To start off, for me, I'll be going straight in with the Xeno Eclipse drivers. Not sure where they're at. The green ones, these. There we go. Probably have a few more of them because I've got some gold boxes, gold and silver boxes to open. I'll be going one of them instantly. Well, 4 of them to fit it because they've got decent range to start off with, and because as soon as you replace these, well, they're instant application for a start, as my other video suggests. As soon as I stick them on him, and then I'll add the shields and the armor as much as I can. Once I've done that, I'll be resorting to these to start off with, especially until next week. Until next week, I'll probably go with these maybe. I need to have a look at the new weapons and see what they're like before I decide whether I want these on them or whether I want the other ones. Because I think if you had 6 of the new weapons on there, I'm not sure what it's called, the Vault driver, if you had 6 of them, with the way that they split off, at the end of, if you had them in a line formation, at the end of a volley, you're potentially going to have 18 forks of energy blasting off, or Xeno, when it comes to putting Xeno on there. So each ship's going to be firing, they're usually firing a group, one cluster. That cluster splits into 3. So then times that by 6, you've got 18. So you've got 18 clusters, which it's almost like a Spartan shield wall, or a Greek shield wall, whatever, think of any of the old, classic armies, they're going to have that shield wall. So it's going to be blasting off like a shield wall with spears hanging over the side of it, and it's going to be almost impenetrable. So even though the Horde cannon has basically overrun any fleet that's going, other than the operator, they still seem to be sticking with the Cascade missiles. The Horde cannon might not actually take precedent on this one. It might be the Vault drivers, which is good because we want that variety. We want things to be a little bit more spread out over all the new tech. Otherwise, half of these are pointless. I mean, these I don't use these. I don't see the point when you've got stuff like this. I just think this is better. But there are plenty of ships I haven't got elite and haven't had time to play with these yet. So watch this space. That could make a comeback. But yeah, I think maybe for the Altarian Artemis, I think these in a Xeno 4 will be quite impressive, and I think these might maybe take over the position of these. I'm not too sure yet. I'll have to check it out. Speed. See, that's the booster for these. Even though they lose the range, the speed is a lot more. 4,000 meters per second. It's almost double, which makes them a very appealing item. But we'll have to wait and see, guys. But yeah, that's my little briefing on the Artemis and its perks. You've probably seen them yourselves. Like I said, Mercer X, Mecha X has said similar. I've watched his video. He's gone over the same things. Problem is, when you've got so many people trying to make a video and trying to make content, they're all going to start saying the same things. They're all going to start taking the same ideas. Same with this base. copied this base off the leader of my current clan. He's come up with this. It looks pretty decent. This is the way that I used to have a base, not in this format exactly, because we didn't have as many items, but it used to be the way of things back in the original VEGA Conflict. All your weapons were clustered together, so people had to get close. Now, these days, with the range that we've got on the carriers, that wasn't applicable. But again, we've gone back to that because people are having to get closer, and by the time they've got closer, you've got all these with fleet bears on them, and then the drones just seem to melt anything and everything that gets in their way. So yeah, if you found this useful, give us a shout out. If you didn't, then that's a shame. Don't shout out. If you think I've got something mistaken, don't be a douchebag. Tell me nicely. I am still learning, and be helpful to other players that are going to maybe be watching this video. If you understand some of the perks on the Artemis that I am trying to understand, and you think you can explain it better, drop me a message. I'm happy to listen. And yeah, maybe you can clarify some of these little poorly worded sentences, and quite vague comments like this here. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. Hope you guys get this Artemis very easily. If you haven't got the fleets to attack like I have showed you in this video, top tip: hit the fleets you can and buy it. If you buy it today, you can mark it up to 2 next week. Buy it today. If you've got the orator, then I suggest you get this bought. Get 6 of them built from now until next week, and then when the next event drops out, the fleet that I'm going to be using to start off with will be the orator, because the fleets for marking up are going to be Pharmacon. That's typically the way things go. You'll see that to get your vectors marked up, you have to use Pharmacon to hit the fleets, because they're Umbra fleets. So that's the way they always make it hard for you. The thing you want to mark up, you have to use to mark up, which is a struggle. Now that we've got 9 ships out there, well, 8 ships out there that we've got one of each race, we can make it easier for ourselves. So that you want to mark up your Artemis. So your Artemis is going to be the fleet that's going to be carrying your markups for this is going to be a Pharmacon fleet. So you're going to want to use an Altarian fleet to hit it. This fleet here might be worth using next week. If you are going to use this, if you're at the lower levels and you don't have the Orator, and this is one of the best fleets you've returned to the game, and this is one of your best fleets, these Vectors, these Zeuses, that we've just been given. If you are going to use them, I would highly suggest that you get into your crafting menu, get onto your fusion, and get some of the Xeno. I don't think I've got the money. I think I've taken them off. Get some of the. You're down here. Get some of the Xeno glance cannons, because they'll do a lot more damage when it does come against the Pharmacon items. 6 hours, a couple of them. I mean, they've only got 2 of them and 2 of them on there, so 12 hours and 16 hours. Well, no, 18 hours, 9 hours there in it almost. 12 hours and 9 hours each for them. 12 hours for 2 of them, 9 hours each for them. You're going to be able to get enough of them out of there to replace a fair few before the next event. So start thinking ahead, start getting them ships changed out, and then you can get, hopefully, your Mark 2s, get Mark 1 bought in the shop, get Mark 2s bought, and then fit it with as many instant application weapons that you can put on there, even if it is just the Xenoglance, not Xenoglance, the Xeno drivers, the ones that I'm going to put in on there. That's my advice to you guys. Get them items, get it shifted up. If you've got the Orator, then perfect. That will be the start, I think, for everyone. If you don't want to take any damage, if you're not bothered about damage, people will start throwing the vals at them. They'll start throwing the Leviathan at it. If they've got high enough zettabytes, they'll start maybe using that. We'll have to wait and see. That's it for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed. The video's been long enough, so good luck out there, and I hope you all managed to get these ships. And finally, we've now got all 3 ranges, so hopefully farming will become a lot easier. And if you haven't got the zettabyte, by getting this Artemis, hopefully by the time you get it marked to level 4, you should be able to farm the zettabyte. That's what I was at when I was using the Val Ravens Mark 4. So good luck, guys, and if you need anything, give us a shout, drop a message, say hi. Thanks for watching.